Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. It is my great pleasure to say hello, good afternoon in some cases, good morning in some other cases to all you, honorable ministers, excellencies, Director General with his team, ladies and gentlemen in general, all friends of renewable energy solutions. It is my pleasure, as I said, to welcome you all to the 12th session of the Assembly of the International Renewable Energy Agency. I am Teresa Rivera. I know many of you, of course, not all of you. I am the Deputy Prime Minister of the Government of Spain, also the Minister for Ecological Transition and Demographic Challenge, so including the energy portfolio. Under the item 1 of the provisional agenda of this session, I declare open the 12th session of the Assembly of IRENA. It is with great pleasure that I open this very important assembly in my capacity as President of the 11th IRENA Assembly. Thank you all for being here with us today. It's been a complicated year, as Becky was saying. It has always been a very interesting year in terms of the energy transition, the energy transformation, the wave of the renewable energy solutions everywhere in the world. The global health circumstances continue to present challenges both to our people and our nations, and pitifully also to the opportunity to meet and to discuss on a personal basis. But thanks to the team in IRENA headquarters, we have been able to join in this way, so that instead of having an in-person IRENA assembly, which a few months ago was possible, and now due to the continuing global developments, including last-minute flight cancellations and additional formalities, we have had to convene the assembly in a virtual format. But we meet. We have the opportunity to discuss, to change, and to perform increasingly better. So I thank you all for your patience, flexibility, perseverance, and understanding. And I thank the IRENA's team to make this possible. Learning from the lessons of the pandemic also involves learning to take urgent and decisive action to prioritize health and safety and to provide solutions whenever we find unexpected circumstances. So in this regard, I would like to thank for keeping us abreast of the situation and taking the necessary steps in a very short period of time to ensure the health and safety of all delegates and attendees, as well as the highest levels of inclusiveness and transparency. Thanks, dear Director General. I could also thank the membership for the flexibility you have shown, the understanding, as well as the capacity to adapt to the situation in light of these circumstances. I could also like to point out at the outset how impressed I am at all the accomplishments made by the agency and the IRENA membership, despite the challenges we continue to face. I am certain that this assembly will prove as fruitful and as successful as the 11th session and the previous ones. The Secretariat continues to implement modalities to ensure the smooth running of the Assembly session in a virtual format, and we ask you for your continued understanding and patience even during these sessions. In the event of any technical difficulties, the Secretariat stands ready to support delegates as required. Now, if you allow me, I would like to address the Assembly in my capacity of President. It has been an honor for me to serve as President of the 11th session of the Assembly, and I would like to thank you, the Vice Presidents, Albania, Costa Rica, Ghana, and India, for their important contributions along this year. Over the course of the past year, we have witnessed global recognition of the central role of the energy transition in achieving our climate and development imperatives: welfare for all, prosperity for all, access to modern forms of energy for everybody, building a sustainable, resilient, equitable, and just future for our shared prosperity. This has been an important milestone, not just for the global community, but for us as members who have held a strong conviction in the mission of IRENA and work closely with the agency, the membership, and different stakeholders to solidify its status as the intergovernmental organization for the energy transition and principal platform for international cooperation on renewable energy. We need all, we need more, we need faster. Crucially, We have individually and collectively intensified efforts to achieve transformative impacts on the lives and the livelihoods of our people, especially the most vulnerable communities and groups, including women and children. Indeed, our commitment to accelerate the energy transition at national, regional, and global levels have been laudable. But this does not mean that our work is done. In fact, it is only the beginning. We need to go along these lines for the coming years. We need to do it faster. We need to pay attention to the social impact this may have to avoid any unexpected, non-desired impact. Our valuable discussions at the 11th Assembly, as well as the Global High-Level Forum on Energy Transition, highlighted a number of key messages. Among these, members underscored, first, the need to facilitate just transitions, understand energy access, and the imperative to leave no one behind. Second, the shared interest and responsibility across all levels to strengthen cooperation and remove barriers for a swift transition into a new energy era. Third, the sense of urgency to step onto and across the 1.5-degree pathway we have all committed to. Fourth, the need to bring the cost of inaction to the forefront of our policy-making discussions and decisions. In fact, many of the turbulence we are experiencing right now are due to the difficulties to go faster, but we need to go faster and smoother, as stated. These important messages remain at the forefront of global discussions, initiatives, and outcomes, including in the UN High-Level Dialogue on Energy and the COP26 on climate change. In some ways, as members of IRENA, we have the advantage of being one step ahead in realizing the challenges ahead, the opportunities, the barriers, the understanding that we need to be done to meet our imperatives and set us on a path of sustainability and resilience. Indeed, the launch of the WETD during the Global High-Level Forum on Energy Transitions in June 2021 provided us with a valuable guiding instrument driving the shift from an understanding the requirements to embarking on a clear pathway of action. It is not just pointing targets and goals, it is going to the ground, act and do it in an inclusive manner. As we gather today to mark the second World Energy Transition Day, it is evident that we are poised to shift our discussions to the next level and take decisive steps to move from commitment to action in the coming decade. This is the most exciting decade we will be living in. Dear members, the urgency to embark on the 1.5-degree pathway is palpable, is evident, is demanded by all our societies. But we also know that it is not an impossible task. It is challenging, full of opportunities, and we need to pay attention to all the things that may be difficulties for some of the most vulnerable groups, but at the same time to embrace and to enhance all the opportunities and benefits that this undertakes. As indicated by IRENA's latest renewable capacity statistics, in 2020, the world installed more than 260 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity, an increase of almost 50% from the previous year. Quite impressive. It is due to all the efforts by different members of our global communities. If we were able to realize this achievement in a time of unprecedented challenges and uncertainty, then we can certainly take bigger and faster steps to accelerate the energy transition in a way that it is just, balanced, inclusive, ambitious, consistent with the scientific consensus, and allied with the needs of our people and our planet. We need to enhance and develop what it is already available, and we need to invest on what we will be needing in the years to come. Let us seize the opportunities presented by the 12th session of the Assembly and the support of IRENA, its diverse membership and synergies with global stakeholders and initiatives to set clear objectives, take decisive actions, and work together with determination to advance in a climate-consistent, neutral, 100% renewable future. Let us continue to remain one step ahead and leapfrog into the 1.5-degree pathway. Let us continue to remain to work into a sustainable development future for all. access to sustainable energy for all, clean energy for all. As we embark on this endeavor, let us also recognize that there are multiple paths of action in line with the specific challenges, priorities, and comparative advantages of different regions and countries. Each one of these paths is equally important in creating a better world for current and future generations. Together, the diversity of our actions will ensure a just transition, embodying the wide-ranging benefits of job creation, welfare gains, technological advancement, innovation, finance, investment, employment, cross-sector cooperation, international collaboration, ultimately placing people and the planet at the heart of our shared prosperity. Before proceeding, I would like to inform you that media will be present during the proceedings of this assembly session, with the exception of the administrative and institutional matters agenda item. I would also like to inform you that in the interest of enhancing transparency and inclusiveness, the open plenary and ministerial meetings of the Assembly will be live-streamed on the IRENA website. On January 16th, part of the day will be closed to take up proceedings of the Assembly of an administrative and institutional nature. I would then like to say that the Assembly approves these arrangements if you agree. Thank you for your agreement. I now invite the Assembly to turn to item 2 of the provisional agenda, organization of work. We will take up item 2A, election of officials. According to the rules of procedure, the Assembly shall designate a president and 4 vice presidents at the end of each session, who will then formally be elected at the next session of the Assembly. As presented in my note to the membership sent on the 7th of October 2021, El Salvador is the designated president of the 12th Assembly, of the 12th session of the Assembly. The rules further provide that at the beginning of each session, members shall confirm the designation and so formally elect the president. At this Assembly session, El Salvador is represented by Her Excellency Mrs. Alessandra Gil Tinoco, Minister of Foreign Affairs. Do I take it that the Assembly wishes to elect El Salvador as President of the 12th session of the Assembly? I see no objection, so it is so decided. Congratulations, El Salvador. It is my pleasure to declare El Salvador, represented by Her Excellency Mrs. Alessandra Gil Tinoco, Minister of Foreign Affairs, President of the 12th session of the Assembly. Let me now hand over to the President of the 12th Assembly. Please, Madam President, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency, Ms. Rivera, Deputy Prime Minister of Spain, for your work, for your tremendous work as President of the 11th session of the Assembly. It is my pleasure to carry on this task of presiding over this extremely important body. Let us continue with our proceedings. I now wish to invite the Assembly to turn to the election of Vice Presidents of the 12th session of the Assembly, who will form the Bureau and support me during our deliberations. At the end of this 11th session, the Assembly designated Antigua and Barbuda, Bangladesh, Egypt, and Greece as Vice Presidents of the 12th session of the Assembly. Do I take it that the Assembly wishes to elect these members as Vice Presidents of this Assembly session? I hear no objection. It is so decided. It is my pleasure to declare Antigua and Barbuda, represented by His Excellency, Mr. Goldwyn Joseph, Minister of Health, Wellness and the Environment. Bangladesh, represented by His Excellency, Mr. Nazrul Hamid, State Minister of Power, Energy and Mineral Resources. Egypt, represented by His Excellency, Dr. Mohammed Saked El Markabi, Minister of Electricity and Renewable Energy, and Greece, represented by Ms. Alexandra Shutkau, Secretary General for Energy and Mineral Resources at the Ministry of Environment and Energy, Vice Presidents of the 12th session of the Assembly. I have asked for their support in presiding over certain sessions of this Assembly.
我已经请他们支持大会的某些会议，并且在必要的时候代表主席国来行事。我期待
conducting the business of the sessions. I now turn to the appointment of Rapporteur. Rule 31 of Rules of Procedure of the Assembly requires that the President proposes to a member of the Assembly to ask as Rapporteur. I wish to inform the Assembly that I have proposed to Malaysia to ask as Rapporteur for this session, and I am pleased that Malaysia has accepted this big responsibility. I do take it that the Assembly concurs with my proposal. I hear no objections. It is so decided. It is my pleasure to declare Malaysia, represented by Madam Noor Afifah binti Abdul Razak, Deputy Secretary General for Energy at the Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources, Rapporteur of the 12th session of this Assembly. I would like to thank the Rapporteur for accepting this position, and I am looking forward to working with Malaysia in finalizing the summary report of our session. We would like to thank you all for the trust placed upon us in guiding the deliberations of the 12th session of the Assembly. I am extremely looking forward to our collaboration to ensure a successful outcome of this meeting and working with the Director General, Mr. Francesco La Camera, and his team. This concludes our consideration of Agenda Item 2A. I now invite the Assembly to take up Agenda Item 2B of the Provisional Agenda, Adoption of the Agenda. The Provisional Agenda of the session is contained in document A-12L.1. The session will consider all the mandates reflected in the Provisional Agenda. Given the fact that this session is being convened in virtual format due to scheduling constraints, the ministerial meetings that were proposed will be rescheduled to take place in the coming months, and the Secretariat will inform the membership accordingly. Do I take it that the Assembly wishes to adopt the Provisional Agenda as contained in document A-12-L.1, with the understanding that the ministerial schedule to take place at the margins of the Assembly will be held at a later stage, and their deliberations will be reported to the membership? I hear no objection. It is so decided. This concludes our consideration of Agenda Item 2B. I now invite the agenda to take up Agenda Item 2C, Appointment of the Credentials Committee. In accordance with Rule 25 of the Rule of Procedure of the Assembly, a Credentials Committee shall be appointed at the beginning of each session. It shall consist of 9 members who are appointed by the Assembly on the proposal of the President. Following the expressions of interest received by 12 January 2022, I have consulted with members and I propose the Assembly to appoint the following as members of the Credentials Committee. 1. Antigua and Barbuda, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Colombia, Cuba, Ghana, Peru, Portugal, and the United Arab Emirates. Do I take it that the Assembly concurs with my proposal? I hear no objections. It is so decided. On behalf of the Assembly, I would like to thank the members of the Credentials Committee for making themselves available for this very important task. The committee will convene for a meeting this afternoon. We shall revert to the matter tomorrow under agenda item 12A to consider the report of the Credentials Committee. This concludes our consideration of agenda item 2C. I now invite the agenda to take up the Assembly, to take up the agenda item 2D, participation of observers. The list of states and entities that have completed the formalities of their applications for observer status at this 12th session of the Assembly is contained in document A-12-L.2. Do I take it that the Assembly wishes to grant observer status for the 12th session of the Assembly to those states and entities contained in document A/12/L.2? I hear no objection. It is so decided. This concludes our consideration of agenda item 2D. I now invite the Assembly to turn to agenda item 3. Under this agenda item, I would now like to take this opportunity to address the Assembly, and after that, we can hear welcoming remarks from the United Nations Secretary General, the Minister of Climate Change and Environment of the United Arab Emirates, and the Director General of IRENA. But before I begin my remarks, I would like to thank the 167 member states on behalf of our President, Najib Bukele, and our country for this great privilege of presiding this General Assembly. We are the smallest country in America, but we take this with great pride and great responsibility because our future is now. Distinguido Director General de la Agencia Internacional de las Energías Renovables, IRENA.
Distinguished Director General of the International Renewable Energies Agency, IRENA, Francesco La Cámara. Distinguished Vice President of the Spanish government, Ms. Teresa Rivera. Distinguished ministers, delegates, and guests. On behalf of the government of El Salvador, I feel enormously honored to preside over this 12th Assembly of IRENA. And I would like to express the greetings of our President, Mr. Bukele, who through a historical process never seen before, is now promoting a profound transformation in our country, which includes, as one of his priorities, energy. This assembly is taking place at a critical moment for humankind. The effects of climate change are having an enormous effect on all our countries without distinction, especially those who live in particularly vulnerable situations. COVID-19 has complicated the world even further, affecting our development and affecting things in such a way we would never have imagined in the past. My profound solidarity from the deepest sentiments is expressed to all of you here at this assembly, and especially I would like to pay my deep respects to those families who have been hit by the pandemic. IRENA and its member states and those involved in its work have taken up an enormous commitment and responsibility to create a safer world for all of us, even in times of pandemic. But not only that, we also have an enormous commitment towards creating a greener world for generations to come. IRENA has 167 member countries and has the credibility, the ability and capability to create synergies and bring about positive transformation worldwide, promoting international policies to promote efficient, accessible and low-cost energies and to combat the effect of climate change and global warming. IRENA, since its inception, was created in order to provide a platform for international cooperation, exchange of policies, technologies and resources and knowledge around renewable energies. And I'm sure that we will continue in this vein to search for ways to improve the living conditions and ability of everyone to overcome future challenges. I'm also convinced that this assembly, with its discussions, its exchange of opinions, and above all, through the decisions it will make, will contribute to establish the foundations for a world in which renewable energy will help to bring about development and prosperity for all. El Salvador is of the opinion that we are on the right track, and for this reason, my country is fully committed to working shoulder to shoulder and very closely with IRENA and its members to achieve this vision of the future. That future is today. Even with the financial and structural challenges due to past governments, we are now able, in my country, able to say that 80% of our energy is renewable, thanks to Mr. Bukele, our president's vision. Solar energy, photovoltaic and wind and natural gas, as well as other green energies, are making an enormous impact in El Salvador to move us away from traditional energy sources and to reduce the environmental impact, which, if we did not do so, would jeopardize the future of our whole country. In a very short space of time, we brought about historical changes in our country's laws in order to ensure that electricity really is a public service, and we continue to promote both private and public reliable and modern energy supply. We have geothermal energy, which has become an extremely important energy alternative in El Salvador, and we wish to move away from our fossil fuel dependency and stop being dependent on oil and coal. However, these still tend to be the main sources of energy, and energy demands are on the increase. El Salvador is committed to creating a carbon neutral economy in the next few years, and we are fully committed to attaining the Sustainable Development Goals. El Salvador has been promoting and fostering its energy independence through a series of projects focused on developing geothermal energy. On the 20th of November 2021, our president announced the construction of Concity, which will materialize our vision of creating energy sustainable cities using the geothermal energy, which will underpin sustainability. We are willing to share our experiences with all IRENA's partners and members in order to attain sustainable development without exhausting our resources and with a view to enhancing living conditions for everyone. This is what is behind this vision and these projects. And this is the commitment that we have as a country, together with other governmental commitments, to support the renewable energy industry. And in the most recent decade, we've increased our installed capacity by 67%. So I'd like to end my intervention by extending a very sincere acknowledgement to the work that is done by IRENA, to its Director General, to the outgoing presidency, and to all the distinguished ministers and delegates, and thank them for their commitment to hard work. And I'd like to show my confidence and my commitment to continue to further the success of our work for the good of humanity and our people. So thank you all very much, and God bless everyone.
It is now with great pleasure that I invite the United Nations Secretary General, His Excellency, Mr. Antonio Guterres, for his welcoming remarks.
I am pleased to take part in this 12th session of the Assembly of the International Renewable Energy Agency. I salute your team, Energy Transition from Commitments to Action. The high-level dialogue on energy, as well as COP26, created opportunities for progress. But promises must be translated into meaningful change in people's lives. IRENA is well positioned to support countries, especially the most vulnerable, in this effort. You are creating energy transition pathways to advance the 2030 Agenda and the Paris Agreement. But we must go even farther and much faster to close the energy excess gap and keep the 1.5-degree goal of the Paris Agreement alive. This Assembly brings together ministers of energy as well as all other vital stakeholders in the energy landscape. It offers a unique opportunity to shape the global energy discourse and to drive investments towards an inclusive and job-rich recovery, including by investing in reskilling programs for the growing green economy. We know what's needed: a tripling of renewable energy capacity this decade, phasing out coal in OECD nations by 2030 and 2040 for the rest of the world, putting a price of carbon and ending fossil fuel subsidies, ensuring support for a just transition. And that's why I'm calling on governments, public and private finance, and the private sector with the technological know-how to form coalitions in support of the energy transition of developing countries. The technological and financial solutions and tools are all available. By investing in a renewable energy future, we can support pandemic recovery and build resilient societies and sustainable and inclusive economies. Let's keep moving our world from commitments to urgent action for a better future for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General, for your remarks. We must move our commitments into urgent actions. Absolutely. I would now like to invite Her Excellency Mariam bint Mohammed Saeed Hareb Al-Mehiri, Minister of Climate Change and Environment of the United Arab Emirates, to deliver the statement of our host country. You have the floor, Your Excellency.
In the name of God, most merciful, most compassionate, excellencies, distinguished delegates, assalamu alaikum. I'm delighted to join you today at the 12th session of the IRENA Assembly. I would like to extend my sincere congratulations to Her Excellency Alexandra Hale Tinoco, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of El Salvador on assuming the presidency of this year's assembly, wishing her all success. I also like to thank Her Excellency Teresa Ribera, Deputy Prime Minister of Spain, Minister for the Ecological Transition and Demographic Challenge of Spain, and the outgoing President of IRENA's Assembly. I would like to thank His Excellency Francesco La Camera, Director General of IRENA, and the agency's staff for their continued efforts. Distinguished delegates, never in the history of the global energy transition and the climate action has been a year more eventful than last year, as the COVID-19 pandemic emphasized the need for collective, meaningful action among the international community. This was reflected in the renewable space and the fight against climate change, and we clearly saw a new momentum of pledges towards real effective action. I'm proud that UAE has been a key part of the acceleration process, owing to our wise leadership's vision and directives that have long focused on enhancing our endeavor to adopt a more sustainable approach. In October 2021, the UAE announced the launch of its net zero by 2050 strategic initiative. Thus, it became the first country in the MENA region to launch such an initiative in line with the Paris Agreement 2015. To fulfill this ambition, the UAE is working on a sustainable economic growth model that will leverage research, development, and innovation and act as a catalyst for job creation with the aim of supporting national economy diversification. Renewable energy will play a fundamental role in pursuing climate neutrality. Owing to our efforts that have been on for 15 years, UAE has more than 2.8 gigawatt of solar PV capacity, with 2 more gigawatt to become operational with the integration of a DAFRA project in Abu Dhabi. Ladies and gentlemen, though global entering transition movement is inevitable. However, we cannot achieve that without delivering. And delivering inclusive energy transition will be critical to advancing climate efforts. This is where IRENA's expertise in energy transition, devising adequate plans, are vital. As part of the priority of diversifying energy sources here in the UAE, we are currently developing alternative, more sustainable, including the development of blue and green hydrogen. We launched a roadmap to achieve better hydrogen development during the COP26. It is a national comprehensive plan to support local industries and to contribute to have neutrality and to enhance the status of Emirates as a major source of hydrogen. We also announced ETAF in cooperation with IRENA in order to collect about $1 million in order to speed up the transformation. In addition, Emirates is committed to provide $400 million as support funding to the platform. In addition, our major energy companies are adopting effective approaches to advance the energy transition. A strategic partnership agreement was signed between TAQA and ADNOC with Mubadala to own shares in Masdar, and to move will develop the world's largest portfolio of renewable investments. I'm proud that the UAE's distinctive role in the energy transition and the climate action culminated in announcing that it will host the COP28 in 2023. COP28 will focus on the global stake, measuring how far we have won and still needs to be done to stay within the 1.5 centimeter limit. From this platform, I encourage everyone to work during the coming 2 years until the 2023 meeting to stress that renewable energy is an important part of the process to face the climate disaster. I would like to appreciate IRENA's exceptional successes in cooperation with the member states, and I look forward for more achievements that can have an impact in order to have a sustainable development and sustainable future. Thank you and Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for your extremely interesting remarks, Your Excellency. And indeed, renewable energy is key to climate neutrality. It now gives me the great pleasure to invite the Director General of IRENA, Mr. Francesco Lagamera, to provide some welcoming remarks to the Assembly. You have the floor, Mr. Director General.
Thank you, Madam President. So, Madam President, dear Alessandra, dear Teresa Ribera, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to the 12th session of the Assembly. Let me begin by congratulating Excellencies, Mrs. Alessandra Il Tinoco, for her election as President, and Antigua Barbuda, represented by His Excellencies, Mr. Melvin Joseph, Minister of Health, Wellness and Environment, Bangladesh, represented by His Excellencies, Mr. Nasrul Hamid, State Minister of Power, Energy and Mineral Resources, Egypt, represented by His Excellencies, Dr. Mohamed Shaker El Markabi, Minister of Electricity and Renewable Energy, and Greece, represented by Ms. Alessandra Sdoku, Secretary General for Energy and Mineral Resources of the Ministry of Environment and Energy as Vice Presidents. I look forward to working with you in the coming 2 days and beyond. And we are already making plans for this year, and I profit of the presence of Alessandra here beside me to inform you that we will have a ministerial meeting on Global Geothermal Alliance in El Salvador later this year. I'm also deeply grateful to the outgoing President, my friend and Vice President, for their services and support during 2021. Regretfully, the present circumstances do not allow for us to meet in person in our wonderful host city of Abu Dhabi. We were immensely looking forward to convening IRENA's global family in person, and I know that we share a sense of disappointment and frustration. But under any circumstances, our Assembly is a special occasion that provides much needed political impetus and direction to our efforts. It is a testament to the significance of the IRENA's mission that, despite the condition in which we met, over 1,000 participants from all over the world are taking part in this Assembly. We are a registered delegation from 141 member states, 5 states in accession, and around 180 stakeholders. Ours is a large family, united in a conviction that we are on the cusp of a transformational time. A new era with renewable energy as the engine of tomorrow's economy and a positive prospect at a time of mounting challenges. The theme of this Assembly, as the Secretary General has just emphasized, is from commitment to action.
Yes.
This message carries a special significance, as it is crystal clear that we cannot longer continue with business as usual if we are to live in the world that is safe, resilient, and prosperous for all. This is true for all nations and all segments of the global economy. And the urgency to progress with the energy transition is palpable. Our ability to achieve development goals and create a path that evades the climate crisis depends on it. IRENA Assembly is the first global intergovernmental meeting in 2022, following the immense focus on energy in 2021, including the UNSG's high-level dialogue on energy and COP26 in Glasgow. Significant commitments have been made to further energy transition around the world. Let us stage the stage for translating this into concrete steps that will bring us closer to where we need to be. It is my firm belief that this assembly will convey the message that we are ready to act to get on a path that leads to resilience, equity, and shared prosperity. I thank you very much, and back to you, Madam President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Director General. Please count on El Salvador's commitment to working hand in hand in different projects with IRENA. Our president is extremely committed to renewable energy, and for us, it will be a privilege to walk together with you. Thank you, Mr. Director General. This concludes our consideration of agenda item 3. I'll now invite